Good morning. Welcome to the live streaming worship service of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Riverside. I'm Bonnie McFarland, a member of this beloved church, and I will be your worship associate today. We invite you to worship with us with an open mind and an open heart. As we enter into sacred time created by our presence and shared interest in doing so, I invite you to get comfortable. Turn down your phones or other distracting devices. Make a conscious decision to set aside for this 1 hour the self-protective walls you keep around your heart and your thoughts. Let us remember and explore together what has drawn us to this faith, or learn what this faith is about. And relax. Let the stresses of the outside world slip away as together we focus on this time together. And together we breathe. Although we are now a community connected largely by electronic means, one day we will be together again. Yet even now, we are those seekers with the yearnings to learn, to understand, to make the world a better place, and with the same desire for fellowship. And so we are here, seeking that living, interconnected web of which we are a part. Let go of the anxiety, the fears, the expectations of your own or others' makings, and join us in this hour of beloved community. And so together, we breathe. Our opening hymn this morning is, I Know This Rose Will Open. Please rise in spirit and join us. And because we are Zooming, nobody will know if you sing off key.
I know this rose will open. I know my fears will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will open. I know this rose will open. I know my fears will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will open. I know this rose will open. I know my fear will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will open.
For our call to worship, please read with me one of our Unitarian Universalist covenantal poems. Love is the doctrine of this church, and the quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to live in harmony with all the living creatures and plants of the earth, this do we affirm. Today, Linda Van Voorhis will be reading for us a sermon titled Knock on the Door, written by Reverend Dr. Michael Tino. When asked for information about the sermon, Linda said the following. In this time of division and unrest, immigration is still a major issue with little agreement on how this country should treat those who come here looking for a better life. Somewhere in the desire to enforce law and order, the dignity and worth of those seeking safety and a better life gets overlooked. As UUs, I believe it is vitally important that we remember to stand up for and support the immigrants in our community. Reverend Dr. Michael Tino is a graduate of the Meadville Lombard Theological School. He served 6 years as the director of young adult and campus ministry at the Unitarian Universalist Association, UUA, the national headquarters of our faith movement, and he has authored several UUA publications. Michael has been intimately involved in anti-racism work within the UUA. He served as a trainer with the Beyond Categorical Thinking program, which helps congregations to be open to the possibility of calling a minister who is a person of color, a Latino, Latina, Hispanic person, a person with disabilities, or someone gay, lesbian, bisexual, or transgender. Michael was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York, as part of a close-knit, vibrant Italian-American family. He and his husband, Eric, and daughter, Nora, live nearby the UU Fellowship of Northern Westchester, New York, where he has been the settled minister since 2007. Linda Van Voorhis has been a member of UUCR since 1997. She first came to the church looking for community and support and found much more than that. Her spiritual background is based on a Native American and Taoist philosophy founded in the early 70s with Scientology. It has evolved ever since. It was only after she started studying A Course in Miracles that she found the desire to speak at the pulpit. She has found that as her commitment to the church has grown, her willingness to participate in the church has increased as well. There are a few announcements we would like to share. We will mention several websites and email addresses and phone numbers at various points during the service. At the end of the service, we will leave up a slide with all this information, so you don't need to be distracted copying things down right now. For those needing the information by auditory means, however, it will be announced verbally during the service. Chat time provides an opportunity to spend an hour talking among ourselves, usually beginning with the service, then wandering on to other topics. It's held on Zoom 1/2 hour after service every Sunday. So chat time will begin today at 11:30. But to participate, you need a separate Zoom invitation. So please go to our website at uuchurchofriverside.org for the Zoom chat time registration, or email Lee Greer at president@uuchurchofriverside.org. As members of Inland Congregations United for Change, or ICUC, our church is being asked to pledge to get counted in the 2020 census and to vote in November to support an equitable tax system. It's easy to make that pledge. On your cell, text PICO ICUC to 40649 to find out how. And while you're at it, you can let ICUC know what issues we here at UUCR care about. If you're watching this live, you have figured out Zoom, but you may still have questions or know someone who does. On our website, under the About tab, is a guide to using Zoom by phone, computer, and tablet. For the most current and reliable information related to the COVID-19 virus for our area, go to the website for your county public health department or the state of California. You can find information and links on our website at uuchurchofriverside.org. Good news, Dinah Rowe has started the monthly UUCR newsletter again. It will be out the very first of every month. So if you have something you would like covered or you want to write something for it, please let Dinah know. That's Dinah Rowe at Ramblin' Rose, that's RAMBLINROES 22 at yahoo.com, or call or text her at 909-645-2885. And now Linda will lead us in the chalice sliding.
Indigenous Peoples Remembrance Chalice Lighting. Let us acknowledge that we walk upon the traditional territories of the Moronga, the original people of this land, who continue to cry out for justice and self-determination. In honor of the Moronga people, we, the Universalist Unitarian Church of Riverside, light this sacred flame as the stewards of this sacred and holy place. Indigenous Peoples Remembrance Candle Lighting. We are blessed with a space and opportunity to strive to live out our common principles, to bring justice, equity, and compassion into our daily lives, to resist all that threatens the earth and her people, and to live out our dream of a world of community of peace, liberty, and justice for all. Let these thoughts carry us forth as we journey and worship together. Chalice lighting for our own chalice. First Principle Chalice Lighting by Florence Caplow. Mindful of our highest aspirations, bound by common faith and purpose, and yet beginning with ourselves as we are, let us take one more step together in our unending quest for dignity, justice, and love. Amen.
Our next hymn is Spirit of Life. Please rise once more in spirit and join us.
Sing in my heart all that's true.
Sharing joys and concerns is an important part of belonging to this beloved community. Beginning this week, the beginning of September, we have returned to our traditional time of sharing joys and concerns, which is the first Sunday of every month. Please be sure to email or text your joys and concerns throughout the month to Dinah Rowe, our Caring Network Coordinator. Again, her email is ramblinrose22@yahoo.com, or you can call or text her at 909-645-2885. It is said to be a Swedish proverb that shared joy is a double joy. Shared sorrow is half sorrow, although the tradition is rooted in many societies. Throughout history, after battle, the warriors got together around a campfire and talked about their joys, their losses, their wins, the valor they witnessed, the bravery, their losses. It helped them cope, survive. Today, critical incident debriefing techniques and many forms of therapy include a sharing of joys and concerns by whatever name. Joys, gratitudes, thankfulness, concerns, worries, mourning losses. On first Sundays, we place a symbolic stone in our water chalice for the joys and concerns we have shared, and in recognition of those we have not. An ongoing concern is that our church, like so many across the country, has had a significant loss of income since the stay-at-home order on March 15th. We have made many significant cuts and reductions. Even so, our financial situation remains difficult. John Longfield reported that he and Robin were in a car accident this week. John was taken to Kaiser ER by ambulance with a slight whiplash and back and knee pain. Their car was totaled, but more on this in the joys section. We place a symbolic stone in our water chalice for the concerns shared and in recognition of all those we hold close and have not shared. From John Longfield, the joy is that Robin, their dog, and he, as well as the other parties, survived the accident. And he apparently is not badly hurt, although we know these things can have some delayed effects in terms of more aches and pains. Get well soon, John. Someone left the joy that Dinah Rowe has resurrected the newsletter. She said she found it to be an unexpected connection to the church. Thank you, Dinah. My older brother, Rod, who I've talked about several times, who tested positive for the virus a few weeks ago, has continued to be asymptomatic. And yesterday he was transferred back to the rehab facility where he was originally and is in good spirits. It is said that joy shared is multiplied. We place a symbolic stone in our water chalice for the joys we have shared and all those we have not. Sharing our treasure. This portion of our service is how we fund all we do to minister to and care for our congregation and our beloved historic church, and to ensure that when we are able to safely reopen again, we will be here to welcome you all back again. You can mail your pledge and donations to the church office. Please, no cash. Our church office address is Universalist Unitarian Church of Riverside, or UUCR, 3657 Lemon Street, Riverside, California, 92501. We have a wonderful way to financially support our church at no cost to us and no extra cost to you. Great Lakes script cards for places like Amazon, Smart Final, Vaughn's, Target, iTunes, Chevron, Home Depot, Wendy's, and so many others are available from Dinah Row. Let's say you buy a script card for, say, $25 for Lowe's for that home project you finally found time for. We have a little time right now, most of us. Our church receives a percentage of the script card price, and you get the full $25 to spend. We also have State of Brother cards for your grocery shopping pleasure that also earns our church a percentage. Please contact Dinah or the church office to purchase script and State of Brothers cards. Once more, Dinah's email is ramblinrose22@yahoo.com, and the church office email is admin@uuchurchofriverside.org. Another way to help is when you're making purchases through Amazon, go to smile.amazon.com. Be sure to have the smile and choose Universalist Unitarian Church as your charity. We receive 0.5% of your qualifying purchases. And by using an Amazon script card, we receive a percentage of both. Dinah will be taking orders for Great Lakes script cards after the Labor Day weekend. So if you prefer to, or if you would like to order, contact Dinah. Please donate as the Spirit moves you by whatever method works best for you. Thank you for your generosity. And to those who give of their time and talent, thank you for your generous care and attention. The next hymn is From You I Receive. Please rise again in spirit and join us.
From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and by this we live. From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and by this we live.
Our contemplative reading this morning is by Dero K. Farrar, Director of Music at First Unitarian Church of Portland, Oregon. Before moving to Oregon, he served UU congregations in Santa Monica and Los Angeles, led an interfaith community gospel choir, and worked as a freelance music director, vocal contractor, consultant, and arranger. He also worked on HBO's All the Way in 2016 and Jordan Peele's Get Out in 2017. And he wrote the following words of inspiration and prayer. He begins with this quote from Mahatma Gandhi. If we could change ourselves, the tendencies in this world would also change. Every Sunday morning, the church choir and I spend time in reflection and silence before we begin the first worship service. I often offer my thoughts on the day's theme or the state of the world, providing context to the message we bring. On a recent Sunday, I said to the choir, "So often we make the mistake of living according to our hopes instead of according to our realities." I didn't mean to say it, and I don't know that I would, but as I did, the statement immediately became true. I wonder if, in our efforts to be the change we wish to see in the world, we stop short at our ideal selves, the idea of ourselves we are most comfortable with. I wonder how often I think, I've already been the change, and I'm waiting idly for the tendencies of the world to catch up. I'm unsettled by how frequently I'm surprised by my own social idiocy. How many times need I screw up the same person's preferred pronouns, or note that I am not surprised by the person who just nearly ran me off the road is of a certain race and or age, or make immediate assumptions about someone because of what I perceive to be their class. Or maybe this is a better question. How many times do I need to make mistakes at the expense of other people or people's groups before I'm ready to admit that I'm not any better at this than the bigoted and willfully ignorant? I am liberal, often painfully so. I'm not enlightened. I'm not elevated. I'm not better. But I believe with everything I am that I can be. Change is a word on wheels. It's not a destination, but a journey. If I am to be change, I must commit to humility and refuse to settle for my own comforting achievements. And de Ferrar concludes with this prayer. That which is in us and all around us, and which constantly draws us to our holiest selves. Remove from me any spirit of complacency that would aim to prevent me from seeing the truth of myself. Strengthen me as I commit to a lifestyle of development, and remind me that lifestyle is simply called love. Amen. And now I will turn over the rest of the service to Linda Van Voorhis. Linda?
Thank you, Bonnie. When I talked to Bonnie about the idea, or what the idea should be for the sermon, she said that the theme for the month was the first principle, the dignity and worth of everybody. With that in mind, I chose this sermon off the UUA website, A Knock at the Door. Every June, representatives of the congregations in the Universalist Unitarian Association gather for the annual General Assembly. Each year as we do so, we try to shed some light on local issue of justice, and we invite people of all faiths to join us in working to make the world a better place. One year we gathered in Salt Lake City, Utah, and unveiled a new campaign for justice now called Side with Love. I volunteer as a spokesman with the campaign, envisioned as an interfaith umbrella for a number of issues, all of which have to do with speaking out for equality and against discrimination, for love and against violence on the basis of identity. As we gathered in Utah, the state legislature was about to pass a draconic new anti-immigration law, and so the theme of our interfaith rally was standing on the side of love with immigration families. As a minister and a volunteer, I was asked to stand on the stage to hold up our giant Standing on the Side of Love banner. And so it was that I was standing there not 10 feet from the podium when Mr. Larry Love took the stage, holding the hand of his young adopted son, Osmar. Osmar stood right next to me as his father told their story. Mr. Love was born in Utah and is a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. His required mission work took place in Guatemala, where he became fluent in Spanish, and when he returned, he began attending a bilingual LDS church in Salt Lake City. There, he met Osmar's mother, who had entered the United States 16 years ago from Guatemala without documentation or permission, seeking political asylum because of the turmoil in her home country. Her application was denied. There, 3 subsequent applications for permanent residency in the United States were also denied, despite the fact that while in the U.S., she had 3 children, all citizens by virtue of being born here. She chose to remain in Utah because she faced violence, discrimination, and possible death in her village of origin in Guatemala. And because she could not afford to bring her American children to Guatemala, where non-citizens have to pay a monthly tax equivalent to 7 days of average wages, and the tax on the 3 children would not leave her enough money to live on. There she worked a variety of jobs. She chose to stay in the United States and be a productive member of society. She got a Social Security number, don't ask me how, and paid income taxes on her wages. After meeting Larry Love, the 2 married, and he adopted her youngest child as his. Because she had lived in the United States as an undocumented worker for so long, her application for citizenship was likely to be denied despite her marriage. She was advised by a lawyer not to submit a new application for permanent residency until the new presidential administration took office. At that time, both candidates for president promised swift action on comprehensive immigration change and reform, one of the few areas where they were in total agreement. So she waited. From here, I think I should tell the story in Mr. Love's words. He told us this. On March 18th, one day after my birthday, I heard this at my front door at 6:30 in the morning. And it was loud like that and scary. I said, "Who's knocking at my door?" I opened the door, and there were 2 immigration ICE officers at my door, and they said, "Have you seen this woman?" They pulled out a big 8x10 picture of this Hispanic woman, and they said, "Have you seen this woman? She's illegally registering cars to your address." And I said, "No." And he said, "Can your wife look at this picture?" I said, "Certainly." I called my wife. She was getting ready to go to work. And she looked at the picture and said, "No, I haven't seen this woman." And then he said, "We're not here for this woman. We're here to arrest your wife for deportation." They never showed a warrant. I should have never opened that door. Mr. Love's wife was handcuffed, crying in front of her children. She was allowed to kiss her kids goodbye and then shoved into a van with 8 other people. She was denied bail, and a deportation hearing was quickly scheduled. Because she was married to a U.S. citizen, and because her husband immediately hired a lawyer and became making phone calls to inquire about her, Mrs. Love was eventually released with an ankle bracelet and placed under house arrest. Still unable to work to provide an income for her family or health insurance that her job provided. Health insurance her family needed. When we gathered that June, the Loves fully expected that Mrs. Love would still be deported. Their legal bills were mounting rapidly, and they were losing hope that now she was now eligible for citizenship because of her marriage. She would not be allowed to stay. Whatever hope they still have is based on the fact that because of her relationship with Larry Love, Mrs. Love is unlikely to disappear in the system. 4 U.S. citizens, her husband and her 3 children, are making sure that our immigration authorities know that she is a vital part of their family. In this, Mrs. Love is lucky because her situation is not unique. Some 350,000 people were imprisoned last year because of immigration violations, without having violated any other laws. Right here in this community, undocumented workers, many of them who also have children who are citizens and spouses with green cards, are routinely swept up in raids, often in the wee hours of the morning or under the dark cloak of night. That knock on the door comes too often to our neighbors right here in Westchester, and often their only hope is someone knows that they've been taken. Immigration officials count on the fact that too many in our community, our immigrant neighbors, are not human beings with inherent worth and dignity, but disposable laborers, soon to be replaced by others. As a matter of theology, as a simple way of affirming and promoting the very first of our Unitarian Universalist principles, we need to do what we can to humanize the immigrants in our community, to understand them as our neighbors, to see them as strangers worthy of our hospitality, to challenge ourselves to work so their inherent worth and dignity is respected by all in our society. And on this issue, our theology runs smack up against the brick of politics. Despite the fact that working in this country without proper documentation is a crime comparable to speeding, we insist that those who have come here to seek a better life are criminals. It is very likely that I drove over 55 miles an hour on the highway on my way here. It is probably that I was among the slower drivers on the road too. Should everyone on the highway this morning be taken from their homes in the middle of the night, handcuffed in front of their children? I think not. We get angry because, after all, there are supposed to be legal ways to come into this country, are there not? But Mrs. Love applied for legal entry in the U.S. before leaving from Guatemala, despite the fact that she had run afoul of local gangs, and feared for her life. Her entry was denied. Her mother, who lives in fear of those gangs, still lives in Guatemala and has been denied even a tourist visa to visit her grandchildren, despite having U.S. citizens like Mr. Love recommending her for entry. The truth is, for most people around our world, the legal immigration system is impossible to penetrate. In rushing to make these hard workers into criminals, we lose sight of the fact that it was not so long ago that millions of Irish and Italians got off the boats without paperwork and became a part of American society. That people are able to come into this country legally is only one of the many myths surrounding immigrants and immigration, including who they are and how they should contribute to our economy. Among other things, they found that the foreign-born workers are responsible for 25% of the gross domestic product in the 25 largest U.S. cities. 20% are the exact percentage immigrants are of the population in those cities, showing that foreign-born workers clearly pull their own weight in our economy. Day laborers, such as the people employed through Neighbors Link, make up about 0.5% of the immigration population in our country. 0.5%. In the New York metro area, they found that 40% of registered nurses, pharmacists, physicians, 54% of security guards, food service workers, and cleaning and janitorial workers, and 60% of dentist assistants and nursing aides are immigrants. Immigrants in New York are a diverse population, despite a common narrow-minded focus on Latino, Latina, and Hispanic immigrants in this area. Only 27% of the immigrant population in New York comes from Mexico and Central America. Immigrations to New York also come from Europe, South and East Asia, the Middle East, Caribbean, Africa, and South America. They represent every shade of the human rainbow. And while their native tongues add a wonderful diversity to so many sounds of New York, most immigrants in New York speak English fluently. In examining the economy in these large cities, researchers found a direct correlation between the rate of economic growth in the year before our current recession started and the immigration labor force. While cause and effect are impossible to pin down precisely, it is clear to these professional economists that immigrant labor did not diminish economic growth at all. If anything, it enhanced it. These studies very purposely looked at immigrants, you will notice, and not just undocumented immigrants. This is partially because the policies intended to target undocumented workers often hurt citizens and holders of green cards and work visas, and because our demonization of the illegal alien in our midst means that the people who are here illegally suffer discrimination and alienation as well. The Fiscal Policy Institute's report on New York concludes that immigrants are such an important part of the New York economy that cracking down on immigrants clearly has unintended consequences with significant negative impacts. English-only policies, racial profiling, or a general anti-immigrant atmosphere negatively affects a large number of people, families, and communities beyond the undocumented workers at whom the measures may purportedly be aimed. The only possible solution is comprehensive immigration reform. Not any old kind of immigration reform either. Immigration reform that provides a path to legalization for millions of undocumented workers, and immigration reform that prioritizes keeping families whole. No family should be torn apart by a knock on the door in the middle of the night. In the coming months, it is likely that our Congress will take up comprehensive immigration reform once again. Leaders in both majority parties are proposed to support real and meaningful legislation. Actually, this was written a while ago. That will make our society more just for everyone. These people will be doing something different and necessary for our nation, and many in both parties are liable to trot out old, tired myths and scare tactics to get us to oppose changing our system. These people will be well funded by entrenched business interests and supported by talking heads in the media who claim a fake patriotism rooted in xenophobia and not liberty and justice at all. We need to be paying attention. We need to be ready. We need to be willing to stand up on the side of love, because no one should live in fear of a knock at the door. When I read yes, I'm actually reading something different as a benediction than what was given. I am reading Be Mindful in Your Relationships by Teresa Goldmans. In our busy lives, we often forget that there is more than just bills to pay, phone calls to return, and errands to run. There are people in our lives who need to be hugged, who need to be loved. There are people in our lives who need their accomplishments noticed and praised. We need to remember that a heart is like a garden that needs to be tended to and nourished with what only another heart can give, love and appreciation, devotion and honesty. I guess I did that backwards too. Closing hymn is I've Got Peace Like a River from Singing the Living Tradition number 100. Again, nobody will hear you, so sing your heart out.
I've got peace like a river, I've got peace like a river, I've got peace like a river in my soul. I've got peace like a river, I've got peace like a river, I've got peace like a river in my soul, in my soul. I've got joy like a fountain, I've got joy like a fountain, I've got joy like a fountain in my soul. I've got joy like a fountain, I've got joy like a fountain, I've got joy like a fountain in my soul, in my soul. I've got love like the ocean, I've got love like the ocean, I've got love like the ocean in my soul. I've got love like the ocean, I've got love like the ocean, I've got love like the ocean in my soul, in my soul. I've got pain like an arrow, I've got pain like an arrow, I've got pain like an arrow in my soul. I've got pain like an arrow, I've got pain like an arrow, I've got pain like an arrow in my soul, in my soul. I've got tears like the raindrops, I've got tears like the raindrops, I've got tears like the raindrops in my soul. I've got tears like the raindrops, I've got tears like the raindrops, I've got tears like the raindrops in my soul, in my soul. I've got strength like a mountain, I've got strength like a mountain, I've got strength like a mountain in my soul. I've got strength like a mountain, I've got strength like a mountain, I've got strength like a mountain in my soul.